Hi there. Well, for today's video, I will just try to do a quick repair of two medium Molle rucksacks. I got these for cheap because they were dirty and in need of repairs. So first thing I did was, well, disassemble everything. So I have like the straps and everything here, and the straps also will need like minor repairs. There's like a little part where the seam opened up or ripped open. For the shoulder belts, shoulder straps, the belts are actually fine for both of these, and the frames as well, which is kind of like the most important thing, because these frames are not designed very well because of this weird U-shape, and they really like to break. So getting these in good condition is your primary focus if you try to buy them used, because those frames alone go off for, I think, 30 to 40 euros or something. They're pretty expensive compared to, I mean, the large Molle frames, you can get those for 10 euros these days. Those are pretty expensive. Yeah, as for the repairs, there's like this part on the first rucksack where a little bit of the seam from this upper front pocket basically just opened up, and this repair is very easy because it's just like cutting off the loose strands, or the loose thread here and there, and basically clean up the usual thing, clean up the thread, and wherever I see fit I just go along the edges of the fabric with a fire, with a lighter, I mean. Yeah, it's just any source of heat basically, like a lighter or a candle or something. Basically what you want to do to prevent this kind of fraying is cut it off, but not basically. If it's like this, you can basically leave it as it's, just cut off the protruding strands of thread. On the other rack, I'll explain it in detail, but basically the way you see it here, if you have like 2 to 3 millimeters of fraying, it's okay. Just burn it with your lighter, and it will basically seal it. It will melt together, so there will no more fraying will occur. And yeah, for this repair, all I have to do is basically open the main compartment, fiddle it into my sewing machine, and then just do this like 2 centimeter seam here. And you can even see on the inside that it's pretty easy to spot where the thread is missing, and it's just like with a little bit of overhang, like 1 or 2 centimeters in each direction, or about half an inch. Just add a small seam there, and that's it basically. Yeah. Besides that, this pack, as I figured, seems to be all right. However, the other pack, the second backpack I've gotten, as you can see already in the upper front back, even the lower one has some pretty serious fraying here, which needs a lot of cleaning up with scissors and cutting off those that beard of of braid basically, or of what's it called, polyester thread. And then on the main pack here, there's like on the upper front back, I mean on the upper, what is it? Yeah, the upper front pouch of the backpack. As you can see here, there's like tons of fraying and tons of loose strands. It really looks terrible in there because obviously people tried or just had to use the zipper over and over again, and the thread got caught in there, I guess, and so it created this like bird's nests even of loose strands of polyester. And on the bottom of this upper front pouch, nearly the whole back has been ripped open. So there's like a huge hole in here, or a huge, basically the main part of the back where the seam is missing. And so all of this, I will cut this fraying. I will remove all the strands, and then cut the fraying down to like 2 or 3 millimeters, and then melt everything with a lighter, and then sew it. And yeah, hopefully do a good job on that. Whereas here I'll probably cut to basically nearly cut to where the fabric starts again, and then melt it, because I want a solid edge so that I can see when I sew this, when I add a seam here, the further I go into the pack, the more safe it is basically for the new seam to not rip out, is to not pull out threads. However, the further in I go, the more with the seam here, the more fabric, or the more room, essentially the more space in the end of the day I have to sacrifice to repair this pack. Because as you can see here, it's frayed out so much. I already lost like about 5 millimeters, or it's more 6 or 7 millimeters. So about 1/4 of an inch is lost already of the fabric basically. And I mean, I could technically sew in some webbing or something, and basically sew it onto the edges here, and then add the webbing material as an edge, or as additional fabric basically. However, you would see that naturally. You would then have some eau green, dark green, brown, coyote, whatever edge on this pouch here, which just wouldn't look good. So yeah, I'll just sacrifice a little bit of room. But as I said, I'm trying to keep it minimal, cut away as little as possible, melt the edge as tightly towards the fabric as possible, so I can very, very tightly then basically turn everything inside out, turn the whole back inside out, and then put it under the throwing machine and add the seam on the inside of this, aligning this side of the fabric with the other part where it's ripped out, aligning those two edges, and then adding a very tight seam on there, and then I hope it will work. And then that's that. Then there's like minor repairs on the shoulder straps, and then it's good to go. So yeah, let's see how it goes. Okay, so here we are. I've cut away all the fraying from these pieces, and like there's small bits like here where I didn't burn it, but this is all like burned over with a lighter, or melted, so it doesn't fray anymore. As you can see, a bit of fraying doesn't matter as long as you like melt the edge of these. And I bet it's hard to see, but it feels like the edge of this fraying feels like a very small zipper basically. So that way I know it's like the edges have been melted, and there's like little bubbles that have formed. So it's less likely to fray out again. Here's the little hole, the part where it's separated, and I've also done it on this inside here. Like most of the fraying is gone. I didn't overdo it. Like, I mean, in here even there's a bit on the lower pocket. Basically everything near the zippers and everything that struck me basically as like long strands of frayed out thread. I cut those off and left like 3 to 5 millimeters, melted the tips so it doesn't fray out anymore. But yeah, as I said, I try to not overdo it. Like as you can see here, there's little imperfections, but oftentimes, like when these are sewn, sometimes they use a machine to sew this on, and then lift up the sewing head from the sewing machine, and then go over to the next webbing belt and keep on sewing. So sometimes there's like thread interconnecting these individual pieces of webbing just from the manufacturing process. I'll try to see if I can find an example for that anywhere. I mean, here basically you can see there's like longer pieces of thread where there's stitching here and stitching there, and this is basically where they skip from one seam to the other. or forget to cut the and either don't care to cut the threads, or sometimes they just forget cutting these threads and just leave it. But it works. It's military gear. It's used surplus. It doesn't have to be perfect. It never will be perfect. But yeah, just getting as good as you want it to be is good enough. Everything else is basically, I mean, you could turn each and every pocket inside out and start like melting these edges of the fabric, but it's just overkill. It really doesn't matter that much, or no, it doesn't matter at all, because at the end of the day, this is the inside of the pocket, and as long as the seam holds, it will be good enough. This probably, like there's a little bit here, like I can barely fit my finger in here. Now that I've like cut the loose strands at the edges of the seam off and melted those little bits of thread, it probably won't open up anymore. However, since this is the outside and the top of the backpack, under heavy rain, it will most likely somehow you will have like a little stream or even some drops of water can get in here. And it's easily avoidable by just adding this little seam here, which I'm going to do now. But if you have like a field repair, or as a quick something I can do, field repair, something I can do while out in the outdoors doing stuff. I'm having a seam open up and I don't know what to do. Cut the strands off, leave 3 to 5 millimeters, and simply like take a lighter and burn the edges. And let it burn in a bit, but definitely not so much as I can show it here. So let me just give an example. Here we are, and that's it. And that's it basically. There's really not much to it. Here there's a little. Let me see. Where's a little example thread here? I mean, yeah, here's some kind of a. Hey, here's a bit of a frayed edge that hasn't been burned yet. I'm just slowly working along the edge here. And that's it. And now I can feel, and you can probably see it, where there's the longer part where it hasn't been melted yet, and on the left side here's the melted part. Yeah, you can probably hear it. It sounds like going over a zipper already, because as I said, it's small bobbles. But yeah, that's how I'm doing it. And there was a little bit of flame. Now I'm licking my finger just to get to add a bit of saliva to make it a bit wet, so as to extinguish the melting, or stop the melting quickly, cool it down. And yeah, if you, or not you, I am planning to eventually check AliExpress or something and get a very cheap, like, what's it called? A soldering iron tip, a cheap soldering iron tip, or maybe even a cheap assortment of soldering iron tips, just to use for this, because the lighter fluid I use, or the gas, actually it's gas, the lighter gas I use, it takes up quite a lot of gas, I noticed. This is my second refill, has to happen very soon. And as you can see, it hardly wants to go on anymore. Yeah, there we are. But it's a very small flame already. But yeah, what you want to do is just melt these edges, and I'll probably get some soldering iron tips to use in this plastic stuff. Don't use your good soldering iron tips. Definitely never use a soldering iron from somebody else, like family member or something. Leave the soldering irons alone, because melting plastic with a good soldering iron will definitely ruin the tip, and that's nothing you want to do for anyone, especially not a close relative or friend or someone in your household or around it. However, using a soldering iron with a cheap disposable tip to do this kind of stuff probably will be way quicker, save on gas, and be more environmentally friendly, and make more sense, because it's simply faster and spares your worthy time. Yeah, I will sew this now. So here we are, and this is it. I left my dark green or olive drab thread in here. I thought I should use the coyote or brown one. I think this is auburn is the color. I thought this was the right one for multicam, but I figured that the olive drab fits the original thread color way closer than this. Than this auburn one. As you can see, it's the lighter one on the left is the original color. The darker one is the olive drab or dark green one that I've used now. I think it's army green is the color name. This is the auburn, but yeah, it's way darker, and obviously this is green thread, not brown thread. Light green is the original one. However, I've used this one, and I hope you can see it. I can barely see it because it basically fits in so well. I've stitched this with well, I started basically on the very edge where this ended. Put my sewing foot down from the sewing machine, and then I was sewing backwards for about 1 centimeter or half of an inch. Then started sewing forwards, and as you can see, or should be able to see here, my sewing machine basically has 4 settings forward, but there's no backwards numbers here. There's no scaling for how far I go backwards. The side stepping or zigzag motion is on 0 because I naturally want to do a straight seam. And then basically I've just by feel basically manually spun this flywheel to check how far the what's it called? I don't know. Yeah, the lower thing is this part basically grips the fabric and moves it forwards or backwards, which also is making the forwards or backwards motion. It's the lower teethed part inside the bottom here. But yeah, I basically manually spun the flywheel to check how much of a distance is between my stitches. So it is about 1 to 5 to 2 millimeters. And yeah, basically just went back a centimeter and then set it on setting 2 for 2 millimeter stitching size and went forwards. But I guess it would probably more likely have been a 3 millimeter stitch, but I don't care too much. However, I basically stitched all the way down here and then saw the end where I burned the ends of the original seam, basically went about 1 centimeter further, and then once again reversed the direction of the sewing machine and stitched about 1 centimeter back. So now there's like these little strands which I will cut off and burn now, and on the inside once again we also have like these two ends of the thread, those strands of thread that I can cut off and burn or melt off. And here you can see the stitching. It's like way finer than the original one. However, this only is to my advantage because now this seam is very, very solid. The finer your stitching is, the less the distance between individual stitches, the more durable the seam is naturally, because it's simply there's more stitching per distance. So yeah, let me finish it and show you the final result. Okay, here we are with the ends of the thread all melted up, and outside of the repair spot and back side of the repair spot, and that's it. I mean, you can barely see the thread up close. Definitely. Yeah, I mean, sure, these melted over bits are protruding or easy to spot now, but I mean, we are like super zoomed in here, and what these like little baubles of melted plastic do is prevent any further fraying. So yeah, definitely something you want to have rather than want to not have when doing a repair like this, because yeah, it's just preventing further damage. So good thing to have, and I'm really happy with this. This will hold tons, at least as much as it did before, if not more. And yeah, that's it for the main pack. That's already the repair for this backpack for this medium Molle backpack rucksack. That's done. That's it. That was all there was. And now it's off to the shoulder strap and do a small repair there. I'll just show the finished result probably, and then that's that. Yeah, I decided to show it anyway since I'm at it anyway. So yeah, this is like the shoulder strap assembly for the medium Molle rucksack, and there's this frayed out part where the seam opened up. I'm trying to get in there. Come on. Yeah, it's really fiddly to get in there, but yeah. You can see this is the frayed off part from the downside basically, and there's like the upper part is basically folded in. Actually, for like if you want to do like a good repair, like a real repair, what you have to do is like open up all these seams. Because here, as you can see, probably what's looking like a mouth here is basically the sleeve for the outer shell of the shoulder strap. So if you open up all these seams, or most of these seams, you can basically just open this up and pull out the big webbing strand, the big webbing. You can just pull this out, and inside of here is like a black piece of foam. I hope you can see it. Yeah, I think you can see it there. This is like a big black piece of foam, like cut out in the shape of this shoulder strap, which is like roughly, yeah, it's an S form, big huge letter S shaped thingy. So you cut off these seams and then pull the foam part out, and then you can basically wrap this inside out. I'm not sure, yeah, well, I am pretty sure you would have to remove at least this sternum strap thing, which would mean you would have to open up this seam as well, and then remove the webbing from the sternum strap. You can probably leave the buckle on, but have to remove the strap, I guess. I mean, maybe you can even turn it inside out and fiddle this thing in here, push it inside. It's like turning a sock over, basically, turning a sock inside out. And what you want to do is you want to find this broken part, this ripped open part or frayed out part, and sew it from the inside out. So then you have like a hidden seam as you have here, which is like when you just turn it inside out and basically then sew it from the outside, what actually is the inside because it's turned inside out. And then if you like turn it inside out again or the right side out again, then you will have like this kind of hidden seam. I don't want to do all of that struggle because it is a repair anyways, it is used surplus, and eventually it will probably get some defect or break on another part of this, because once again it's used, it's worn out, and basically doing a complete redo like that I would consider pretty much overkill. If you have like a very old, rare or expensive rucksack where you say the effort is worth it, that's how probably it will get done. However, oh yeah, see, there's even, I just noticed these stitches here securing the webbing to the shoulder strap itself, they actually go through though, so you would naturally have to open all of these seams as well. So 1, 2, 3 seams per side plus everything on top here, or most of what's on top here, I guess. That's probably one seam that just holds the flipped over material from the let's call it outer sock. But besides that one seam, all of these seams would probably have to be opened. And yeah, plus these 3, and then you have to fiddle around with the sternum strap to see whether you can stuff it in there as well, or whether you have to remove it as well. And once again, if you have a rucksack that's so rare or expensive that it's worth it, you would do it like that. But then again, probably you wouldn't do it like that, but you would pay someone to do it like that for you. So yeah, just for your information thingy, FYI, that's how it's done. I'm just doing a quick repair now, quick and dirty, and show you the aftermath. And I can say that as well before. What I'm probably going to try to do, I thought about that, is since I can like see and feel this black foam part in here, I will probably just use my finger and shove it in there. So it basically, yeah, like that. So it basically forms like a small. I'm trying to fold it over itself, and then push down the fabric, like I said, what I want to call it, the outer sock part. And oh, there's even two pieces of foam in there. I'm realizing that now. I'm feeling it. Yeah, there's two separate pieces, a thin and a thick piece. A thin piece on the outside and a thick piece on the bottom. Yeah, on the upper side, a thin piece on the upper side, a thick piece on the bottom. However, I'm trying to push it in and stick a pin through there like that to hold it back, so that I don't have any tension pushing towards me when I'm trying to sew this part. Because for sewing, I want this part to be as flat as possible. I just want the outer two layers of fabric, upside and downside, to push onto each other, so I can then carefully sew around the edge after cutting off the excess fraying, after burning it once again, after melting it. So yeah, pushing the foam in, putting a needle in to hold it in place, trying to eventually to tack the upper and lower levels, or yeah, the two pieces of fabric, trying to tack them together using one of these needles, and then sewing along the edge. Let's see how it goes. This is what I meant. I basically just pushed the foam inside and yeah, secured it with a pin, and yeah, that's how it is. That's how you see. It's like basically pushed it onto itself, folded it up on itself, and then put the pin in there. And now, yeah, I also cut the fraying and burned most of it. I cut most of the fraying and tried to burn it. Clean this up now, and then I'll try to sew it onto itself. So once again, a little progress report. I even managed to basically fold the melted part, the melted edge, over itself, and I'm trying to actually sort of hit the original seam on this. Yeah, this is actually the outside, the upper side. I'm trying to hit this on the upper side as well, or again. Let's see how it goes. This is where we are at. The seam looks terrible. It actually, well, it ripped once. The thread ripped once while trying to sew it, and then yeah, kind of didn't want to catch on again. This is what it looked like. Or yeah, actually it ripped a second time, but then at the very end when I was basically done. And this is what it looks like when the upper thread yeah, basically frays open during sewing, and the needle just ripped through the thread. This is, I think, 500 denier thread, by the way, so pretty hefty material already. But yeah, this is what it looks like, and I'll see. I mean, it looks like the thread goes right along next to this pin here, my support pin, basically. Let's see how it looks like, what it looks like without the pins, and eventually I leave it like this. And if I consider it too frisky, then I'll just add another seam on top. But I'm pretty sure that it will be good enough. I mean, it's just a repair on some frayed up shoulder strap after all. So let's see. In theory, I would be happy with the way it is. However, there's like this part here where there's like 5 millimeters less. It's less than a centimeter of a gap, maybe 6-7 millimeters of a gap. I'm not happy with this, because this is where it eventually would open up again. So I'll just add another seam right on top and sew over it again and try if that works. I've sewn over this this piece about 1.5 more times now, because my thread ripped again, and I think I've more or less went through it once in one stitching. Yeah. I think there you can see it basically, where I basically did one long stitch, one long seam all over the edge. And I hope this is good enough now, because I'm not sewing for Dior or Prada or Hugo Boss. I'm sewing used American surplus. What other people considered garbage, the price I paid for it was basically a price for garbage. That's why I like doing this, saving money and giving some good old surplus stuff another life, another chance at being useful. Even if it's just for me, for hobby reasons or whatever. But yeah, this doesn't have to be beautiful. I think I already did quite a good job trying to hide this seam as much as I could, or at least the frayed ends, because I basically folded them inside and then put that pin there to, once again, try to hide it. Naturally, it's not as good as here because, sure, the seam is outside, and the seam being botched like this, like lots of small parts of a seam where the thread basically ripped on me. I could have, once again, removed all of this and always doing it like all over again until it's as good as it gets. Once again, I'm just doing surplus repair, and I myself am learning. I'm teaching myself basically how to do this, and I'm pretty much happy with it as it is. So let's remove this pin now to see what it looks like. There it is. So let's massage the foam back in there and see whether it holds. And lo and behold, yeah, that's good enough for me. I mean, there's not a gaping hole anymore. It seems to be okay-ish. Yeah, it's definitely sturdy enough with this 500 near polyester thread that I've used. And was it even 1,000 in here? 1,000 or 500? I'm not sure. I really am not sure. Anyways, it's a very sturdy thread that I'm using. Very sturdy polyester thread. And yeah, this is good enough for me, and now I'm finished with at least one of those two rucksacks, and I'll finish the other one maybe later today or tomorrow, let's see. But this one is good to go now. Okay, so here we are with number one of my two medium Molle 2 rocks, completely repaired, done. Here's the one seam that I repaired. Then here is the shoulder strap repair, and that's it. That's it. And I got a great deal on these, and I'm super happy. Everything's working out. Everything's good and tight, and despite these tiny repairs, it's I won't say brand new or like new, but it's definitely not. Well, I bought it as like basically very dirty and in need of repairs. Considering what I've done to get it to, I'd say 100% again, or like 99%, 95%, whatever. As good as it gets condition, this basically was a joke of a repair. I mean, there's like, there are small strands here that these like really kind of bug me, but then again they don't. Because even if you cut them all away and melt everything away, they will pop up again soonish after. So it doesn't really matter much. But I really like the concept, the idea of this. And my plan actually is, I've talked about this in the comments of a video from that Peck guy. Actually, really cool dude, go and watch his videos. I talked about my idea because they have these buckles here. And in theory, you can slap them onto a large Molle 2 rucksack the same way you would do with a 3-day assault pack. So since I also have basically two of these OCP Multicam large Molle 2 rucks in my repair pipeline, my idea is to fix those up and then throw these Molle 2 mediums on top instead of 3-day assault packs. And yeah, I'll see how that goes. I don't know. Yeah, I think there's no buckles on the underside, so basically they just hang from the top. But my idea is basically to repair the Molle 2 large as your, I don't know what for, rucksack, adventure rucksack, backpack, and then throw these on top just for, basically what if you need a smaller rucksack. And usually you would use these 3-day assault packs for that, but I'll try using these instead for my multicam large rucks or rucksack combos. But yeah, that's that for now. Here we are with rucksack number 2, and I've turned the upper the upper outside bag, the upper outside pouch, the front pouch of the rucksack inside out. And I've already cut away all of this, the fraying and these loose bands, and melted all of these edges. And doing this, I figured out that basically if you like here, if you leave like longer strands, do I have an example? Well, here I have an example. If you leave longer strands like this, like the those vertical strands here, then the horizontal thread can still loosen and move outwards, which means if I have this on an edge I want to sew, and I sew through this, eventually your seam can still fray out relatively easy. Whereas in comparison on this part here, I cut it off very, very close to the edge. So yeah, once again, I cut the vertical strands off closer to the edge of the horizontal thread here, the horizontal threads. And this way there's not much room for it to fray out anymore, because the edge, once again, the edge is melted, so that is basically secured, and there's basically no play, no give for the first thread towards the edge to basically get loose and fray out. And this, I think, is way better if you plan to sew, or at least if you want to sew like relatively close to the edge. This way it's way more secure. So if you plan to do it like this. And yeah, once again, lots and lots of edges that have been melted and cut away, and I generously cut all of the fraying off. Basically, it was a ton of work. This bag not so much, even though I did it for this lower pouch as well, for the front pouch, but the upper one had like tons of loose thread. And as I'm seeing here, like on the main compartment, there's I still have to do this. I'll do this after. But I wanted to tack this, pin this in place, and sew it first. So let's do that. Here we are with both parts pinned together. I'm sewing this with the inside of this pocket or pouch turned inside out. So we have a hidden seam. So it will end up like this, looking like this from the outside, and something like this from the inside. So yeah, let's get it done. So here we are with the seam that I've sewn. Basically, it's nearly on top of the edge. This is like like one millimeter of a gap between the melted part and the actual seam. I'm very happy how close I get to the edge. However, like there, my upper thread ripped, and somewhere in here it ripped again, or I cut it, and basically tried to use the backwards function of my sewing machine, because let me show you. I was sewing it from this side, and then basically with the whole rucksack being here, I couldn't like turn it around and sew, like turn the material around and sew forwards, because then the whole backpack would have fit through that like gap under the arm of the sewing machine, which wouldn't have fit. So I used the backwards function of my sewing machine and tried like holding the fabric in place, and basically working backwards through the fabric again. But then the thread got stuck in the seam, and the thread that already was in the seam that I had sewn before. So basically the upper thread got stuck within the already sewn in lower thread or under thread, and then the thread started ripping, and it started knotting up. It just clogged up. It was like birds nesting underneath the seam. So I basically had to cut the thread, and I figured like one row of stitching with this time I used step size 3, which still is like, I guess, about 3 millimeters, but it still is way tighter than the original seam. Maybe that's also because of the thread tension that I'm still fiddling around with on this machine, but it's working. The thread is there. I hope it holds, and that's that for this repair piece. Just for completion's sake, like this tiny piece here. Yeah, I think there you can see there's like 2 threads like poking out under the seam that I've sewn. So basically there's a tiny gap here, and I'll just sew over here like a 2 centimeter tiny seam and hope that it works. As you can see here, there's the beginning and the end of the thread that I've used, and there's like this tiny seam, and I went in right behind. See, these are the 2 strands that were like poking out, and I went right behind that and added like a tiny seam, which is like, how long is it? Like maybe 1.5 inches. And yeah, here you can see the underside of the seam, which is not perfect because obviously since this gets turned inside out, now there's like a little bit of weird doubling. I can show you. Yeah, this is what it looks like from the outside now. So there's perfectly hidden seam, everything looking really good. And then, yeah, if you know, you know, somewhere in there, it's like this little piece which is not like quote-unquote perfectly straight. But then again, you can hardly see it. I'll show you the result once I've melted off these little pieces. So yeah, here you have the beginning, or actually this is the end and the beginning of the repair basically. This is the underside, there's the end, and here somewhere is the beginning here. So yeah, that's that. And here we have it now. This is the upper pouch or upper outside back of the rucksack. Like this is the seam that I've done. This is where all the terrible fraying was going on before. This is where my little emergency repair of the repair happened. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with what I've done. For comparison, this is the original seam, yeah, of the lower pouch that I didn't touch, that I didn't repair. This is the original here, and this is what I've done. So yeah, it looks the same, period, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. And the way it's melted now, this should hold virtually forever. So I'm pretty happy with it. I'm trusting the sewing work, the thread work. What's it called? The seam. Trusting the seam, and yeah, I'm pretty happy. I've gotten all the room that I could get out of this pouch now, wasting as little fabric as possible, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. And I'm pretty sure this holds. Here are the shoulder straps for my second medium Molle 2 rucksack. And as you can see here, it's beginning to give out, beginning to open up. It's still kind of holding, but I'll probably just cut it open and sear it or melt it and sew this part anyways, just to be safe. And here there's terrible fraying, and yeah, as you can see, just completely eaten out the fabric here. And yeah, I'll cut all of this fraying off and once again melt it and repair it with the same method I've shown before. This is the first prepared side here I tucked away the inner foam piece basically, and then the outside here I folded inwards on itself again. There's like this long opening, and I already cut away the fraying and melted the edges. And this is, I think, the part that was ripped open. This is the part that I've cut open, and I basically did a clean cut, melted the edge, and then using tweezers I pulled out all the strands that were under the seam here, because this seam I'm just leaving in because that's what secures the upper layer or one layer of foam that's there, the thin layer. Okay, so yeah, off to sewing. Here we are now with the second seam on the shoulder straps. This was the first one on the right shoulder strap outside, and here's the one on the inside. That's the second one I've sewn. As you may see, this one looks like, really botched and not homogeneous at all. Not clean, just not a clean look. This one, however, looks nearly perfect. The difference is fiddling around with the sewing machine and having to basically set up the sewing machine completely, not new, but I figured my lower thread, my under thread, was this isn't supposed to be there. Was basically bird nesting, so doing like this on the underside, and giving me like a really unclean seam on the top side. So I figured it should have been the thread tension. I kept fiddling around with it because I was really unhappy, and here I already started getting like knots and bird's nesting. The thread basically stitching in on itself. It felt like it was not cleanly stitching, sewing. However, after fiddling around with the tension for like half an hour or something, I took a look at the underspool, and actually there's a way. Well, I can just show you. Okay, so this is my underspool assembly, and as you can see here, there's like this way where the thread is supposed to go. There's like this metal clamp here that's giving tension on the thread. You can also set it by turning these screws, but you have to be very careful. Basically, never do it. Try everything else before ever touching these. And then the thread goes through this little hole in this part up here. And then you put it into the machine like this. Yeah, pretty dark. Okay, so it has to like sit with those two teeth around this pin, and then you just click it in, close it up, and when you basically, I mean, I've made a whole video showing like the basics of sewing, but if you just hold this and spin the flywheel for one rotation towards you, then your cell phone falls down naturally. Come on. Okay, so if you give it one rotation on the flywheel, then it goes into the machine towards the under thread assembly, and you can hear it actually, it picks up the under thread. And now if you take any tool, but if your finger's thin enough, you can use your finger, but just don't, because it's dangerous. Anyways, just take anything and go through here, and there you have your under thread. That's how you get your under thread to show. But yeah, fixing that actually gave me this beautiful seam right here. And after all, it wasn't so much fiddling around that. at the end of the day, this doesn't matter too much if you're sewing material like this. I think for finer garments or like, yeah, I don't know, clothing or stuff, where you have like thin fabric, it matters more. For this kind of sewing, it really doesn't matter too much what the settings on these are. But if you get a clean seam like this, it's basically telling you that you've done all right on the settings. So yeah, fiddling around for half an hour, this seam, still definitely far from perfect, but this one is on the outside, so I really don't care much about that. And this one is basically theoretically could be where your neck is, but I figured on the other backpack, on my first medium backpack, that my neck is pretty low on these because I'm like a tall guy, and yeah, maybe this could be around my neck area, but then again, it's not as botched as to give me any trouble, I'd guess. It will be good enough, that's what I'm trying to say. But yeah, so this part's repaired, that part repaired. The other side, I could cut open this one and sew it the same way, but never touch a running system. This is looking good enough as is. It's not completely frayed out yet, and let's hope it stays so for a while. And yeah, for me this is good enough. I mean, once again, yeah, it's good enough. You feel a bit of a stiff seam here, but then again, yeah, I mean, comparing taking everything apart to having a bit of a rough seam, I'm okay with this. And I'll assemble the second rug now and show you the result in a second. Here we are. This is the first one that I repaired. Let's see. Little repair here. And then this is the second one with the long seam here. And yeah. Oh, I also realized that there already had been, I figured this out while sewing, that there already had been a repair. But someone used the wrong thread. This is cotton thread. And if you use this kind of thread, then, no, is it actually cotton? Yeah, I think it's called, yeah, it is cotton thread. Yeah, not wool, but yeah, cotton. This thread, when you go near it with a lighter, it will actually start burning, and it will start to yeah. What's the word? To glow, to produce coal. Basically, it's coaling away. No. What's it called? It's a dim glow. Okay. It's yeah, it's glowing. Yeah, I'm not getting the word. I can't find the right words. Never mind. Anyways, yeah, you want to use polyester thread in this kind of material, on this Cordura nylon stuff. Cordura nylon fabric, use polyester thread, 500 deniers, 1000 deniers. There's different, different diameters for whatever you need. I'm using, I think, 500D for everything I do. The thing is, this kind of thread, over time it will rot, especially if it gets wet or if there's a lot of wear. So for sewing clothing, this is okay. This is okayish, good enough. For this kind of material or rucksacks, yeah, basically, for tools or bags or stuff, use polyester. It's more durable. It doesn't rot, and also if you lighten it up, it will simply melt and not burn. So the advantage of that is if you do repair, you simply leave like a little bit of overhang, like 5 millimeters or a centimeter or so, cut off your thread and simply burn it with a lighter, and it will simply melt against the material, and then you have your thread secured. So yeah, that's that. Something I noticed is there's a US stamp on this one, but there's no US stamp on that one. No, there isn't even, not even the residue of a US stem. I don't get it. I don't know why there are two different versions. But I mean, on the yellow specs, I noticed that sometimes it's worn out, but this doesn't look worn out. This is just simply not there. But yeah, I'm a proud owner of two medium-size Molle 2 rucksacks now, both complete with all the come on. Both complete with all the shoulder straps and belt and load lifters and whatnot, and both frames are there, and I'm super happy with it. And yeah, got these for killer price. Just required a few hours of fiddling and sewing, but then again, there's the fun in it, isn't it? Making a great deal and making it whole again. That's what I enjoy about this. So yeah, thanks for watching. Have a nice day. Bye. This no, wait. Okay. So yeah. Okay, so this no, wait. Out of most I got, and that's it. So that's it. Yeah, it's more sex